What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review. I'm here to talk a little bit about Will Ferrell, and I thought that today I would rank Will Ferrell's top 10 movies. So I know that I ended up going through about 22, 23 movies and taking movies out, taking movies out, taking movies out until I was finally down to 10. But then we got to the point where I was like, wow, I really want to include these two. So I ended up making it a top 12 list. So even though I wanted to do a top 10, I really decided to go with that top 12. I'm a big fan of Will Ferrell. I'm a big fan of his comedy stuff. And that's why when you're hearing this list, there's going to be some dramatic stuff that I haven't really put on there. Stranger Than Fiction, Everything Must Go, neither one of those are on this list. They're good movies. But for me, when I'm watching a Will Ferrell movie, I immediately go to his comedies. Those are his go-tos for me. I also didn't include on this list his supporting roles. You know, he had a cameo in Wedding Crashers. He was Mugatu in Zoolander. You know, there were some supporting roles that he's had, and I left those out as well. I only went with his starring roles. So this is going to be comedy heavy, pretty much all comedy. And it's just his starring roles. And like I said, I put top 12 because the number 11 and number 12 I really wanted to get on there. So let's start with number 12. Number 12 is Blades of Glory. I know. It's not a good movie, and it really is not a good movie. But there's something endearing about seeing these two men have to put aside their differences and learn to skate together in a couple skate. This was back when John Heder was, he was kind of fresh off of Napoleon Dynamite, and he was funny in this, but really it was all about Will Ferrell's machismo that made this movie strong and made this movie funny. So Blades of Glory is number 12. Number 11 is Daddy's Home. This is not the first time or the last time that Will Ferrell would collaborate with Mark Wahlberg, but this one was a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed seeing Will Ferrell, his very liberal, passive person, play off of the very macho Mark Wahlberg. The two of them have great chemistry together. And you definitely see that play out in other movies that they've made together. So Daddy's Home is number 11. Number 10 is Kicking and Screaming. Now, I'm not a soccer guy. I don't know much about soccer at all, but I am a coach, and I know a lot about coaching, and I know that this movie is hilarious. This movie definitely plays up the tropes of coaching. It plays up the tropes of athletic movies, sports movies, and it really kind of showed Will Ferrell's skill in taking a mundane thing like soccer, and then like any kind of kid's sport. It's not just soccer. It's any kind of kid's sport can be mundane when you're talking about little kids, and then find the crazy in it. And they did a good job with that. So Kicking and Screaming is number 10. Number 9 is Old School. You could make the argument that Will Ferrell's a supporting character in Old School. This was kind of his first breakout role, unless you want to count like Zoolander, Night at the Roxbury as breakout. This is kind of his first breakout role. He really broke out into the R comedy here and did a great job. He was the standout in this film. I think for most people, he was the standout. He was the person who fully embraced this idea of an adult fraternity. And it was just, he definitely displayed his comedy chops in this movie, and it was the movie that was mostly responsible for introducing me to Will Ferrell. So it's number 9. All right, number 8. Number 8 is SemiPro. All right, I'm a big basketball fan. I love basketball, and I know that this isn't a true story, but it's one of those It's one of those stories that I was like, man, I wish this was true. I wish this happened, because this is such a larger than life personality that you almost think that this type of person had to exist in the early days of professional basketball in order to make it be successful. Really like this movie. Really think it's really funny. Definitely, I don't buy Will Ferrell as a professional athlete in this movie, but I think that's part of the comedy of it. Is that he's not a professional athlete. He's a good marketer, but that's where his strengths are, not in the game. So I really had a lot of fun with this movie, and I thought it was really funny. SemiPro. All right, number 7 is The Campaign. Will Ferrell had a very good chemistry with Zach Galifianakis, and definitely liked seeing the two of them play off of each other. Will Ferrell being the Republican candidate and kind of channeling his inner George Bush, and having Zach Galifianakis as the Democrat candidate. And it just all kind of worked for me. You know, the whole punching the baby scene. I don't want to live in Rainbow Land. You can't make me live in Rainbow Land. I mean, there's so much stuff about this movie that lampooned modern politics that I had a great time watching it. As someone who teaches, you know, I teach American government, and as someone who teaches American government, I just couldn't wipe the smile off my face while I was watching this modern descent into today's politics. It was brilliant. All right, The Campaign is number 7. Number 6 is Daddy's Home 2. Daddy's Home 2 is obviously the sequel to Daddy's Home, bringing back Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. But what this movie did that was brilliant was it made Daddy's Home 2 a Christmas movie, and it brought in the family. So we brought in the dad of Mark Wahlberg's character and the dad of Will Ferrell's character. John Lithgow for Will Ferrell's dad, and in a brilliant piece of stunt casting, Mel Gibson as Mark Wahlberg's dad. And having the whole family go out into a big cabin for a Christmas vacation, it really is essentially, this is a Christmas movie. And this came out about the same time as Bad Moms Christmas did, and I think everybody thought Bad Moms Christmas was going to be the better movie. But Daddy's Home 2 ended up being a lot funnier, a lot sweeter. It just hit that line between sweet and funny that the best Christmas movies are able to hit. So Daddy's Home 2 was great. All right, number 5 is Anchorman. Anchorman is just classic Will Ferrell, you know, character acting, creating this larger-than-life character, and just running with it. You can tell that a lot of improv went into this movie, and I would love to see the cutting room floor and see everything that got cut, because I'm just sure that there was a lot of really great content in there. But classic Will Ferrell, lots of improv, creating a larger-than-life character with ridiculous, put in ridiculous scenarios that could never happen, but that's why they're hilarious, because there's no way that, you know, you're never going to have, 7, 8 journalist teams fighting to the death in a back alley, but it's hilarious because it's ridiculous. So Anchorman is number 5. Number 4 is The Other Guys. The Other Guys is another Mark Wahlberg collaboration, and it is hilarious. And it's funny because the first time I watched it, I didn't love it. But then I watched it more and more and more, and for some reason, every time I watched it, it got funnier and funnier and funnier. To the point where it's one of the more quotable Will Ferrell movies now. You know, I'm a peacock, you gotta let me fly. It's incredibly quotable. I have so much fun watching it, and it's probably one of them that I'll revisit more than any of the others, just because it is so rewatchable. So, The Other Guys is number 4. Number 3, for a lot of people, number 3 might be their number 1, but for me, this is where I put it, and that's Talladega Nights. Talladega Nights might be the quintessential Will Ferrell movie. It's got a collaboration with John C. Reilly. The best stuff that either one of them, some of the best stuff that either one of them have ever done have been together, especially in the realm of comedy. And when you think about quotable Will Ferrell, when you think about character acting Will Ferrell, again, larger than life character, crazy situations, funny supporting cast all around him. This is that quintessential Will Ferrell movie. Talladega Nights brings out all the best in Will Ferrell in terms of his comedy chops, in terms of his collaboration with others. It is peak Will Ferrell. This was him at the top of his game, and it remains one of my favorites. So Talladega Nights is number 3. Number two, I believe, is one of the most quotable movies of all time. And I think it might be the funniest movie of all time, too. In my opinion, anyways. I think it's so funny. And that's Step Brothers. I remember watching Step Brothers in the theaters, and I just couldn't believe that I was laughing so much. I was expecting to go in and see just kind of this silly family comedy, and what I got was improv genius. Now, it's obvious that this movie is highly improv, but as someone who loves improv, I'm able to just sit there and soak in the genius between him and John C. Reilly. Literally, their chemistry just bouncing off each other, having so much fun working together, and you can tell that fun shows up every second on screen. Step Brothers is insanely quotable. I never get tired of watching it. I think it's the funniest movie ever made. So if Step Brothers is the funniest movie ever made, what is number 1 then? Well, for me, number 1 is Elf. Elf is Will Ferrell it's Will Ferrell at his most accessible. He's funny, but he's not over the top. You can tell that there's improv there, but he's not going overboard. He's got great chemistry with everybody, and it just has that sweet accessibility where families can access it. You know, us families aren't going to sit down and watch Step Brothers. Most families aren't going to sit down and watch Talladega Nights or The Other Guys or Anchorman. But Elf is a very accessible movie for families. And that doesn't make it good, but in this case, it just so happens to be good. It's hilarious, and it's a sweet story, and it's a good, well-written, well-made movie. So even though Step Brothers, I think, is funnier, Elf is just a better movie. So that's my ranking for Will Ferrell, the top 12 movies that Will Ferrell has ever made. What do you think of my list? Let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to agree or disagree. Just keep it kind, keep it civil, and let's have a great conversation about this. Thank you guys for joining me right here at the LQ Review, and until next time, we'll see you later.